Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Maxace Medusa double action OTF. And before we get started here, a lot of people pointed out that looks like the No Limit Night Stalker. Yeah, it does. There's a few differences, but it definitely does. So I asked Maxace about this. Their exact words were, "This was our design, and we also manufactured this, but No Limit Knives bought out the whole shipment." That means that Maxace is actually the original designer and manufacturer, but it sounds like more often than maybe we realized, other Chinese companies are buying out entire shipment models from manufacturers like Maxace and just putting their name on it. So does that mean that everything that No Limit does is just Maxace but with a No Limit? I have no idea. In this case, at least, anything that looks like the Medusa, I understand, like the Night Stalker, if you look at it, the glass breaker's in a different place, the pocket lip's in a different place. This and variants of this with the No Limit logo on it are all Maxace. So this is the original. I'm hoping that that clears things up. Thank you so much to Maxace for sending this to me for review. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. As far as where to get these, I don't link anything in my description unless it is from a 100% reputable dealer. I cannot find this. There are lots of Maxace knives that are for sale on, at reputable dealers, but this exact knife, unfortunately, it's just some of the unsavory ones, which will not be linked. So you'll have to use Google for this guy. If, of course, I find a link for it in the future or it becomes available at one of the retailers that I like to work with, then yeah, I'm going to link it down below. But that's just kind of the reality of this situation right now. Let's go ahead and measure this knife. This is a big double action OTF, coming in at 8.8 inches, 8.85, yeah, 8.85 inches, over 9 inches if you count the glass breaker. So yeah, and then your blade length is coming in at about 3.75 inches, and your cutting edge is coming in at about 3.5 inches. Let's go ahead and do, I should have had these ready, some size comparisons against some other large OTFs. I've actually got quite a few here that will compare nicely with this guy. Let's go ahead and get out an Ultratech as well. Let's put it up against the Ultratech. So, there you go. Quite a bit bigger than the Ultratech. How about the Microtech Dirac Delta? Yeah, it's almost exactly the same size as the Dirac Delta. The Delta, we're at an angle here, so the Delta looks like it might be as much as a 1/4 inch. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch longer. But the Maxace actually does have more cutting edge. So, interesting. How about up against, let's do the Combat Troodon. Combat Troodon's still definitely a larger knife. How about the, sorry about that, Microtech Scarab 2. Yeah, Microtech Scarab 2, definitely also still a bigger knife. And then finally the Recon 40 from my Guardian Tactical, geez. So there you go, some American heavy hitters on the table. There's lots of other, like a lot of people are like, why don't you ever take a look at a lot of the other Chinese-made OTFs? They're really good. Here's why you haven't seen them. I actually have handled a lot of them. I don't like them. I don't understand why a lot of people say like, yeah, this Chinese OTF is every bit as high quality as a Microtech. Oh my God, no. This is the first time. This is the first time I have handled an OTF that actually has similar build quality to a Microtech. I have handled so many foreign-made OTFs that people claim are this or that. There's a reason you don't see them. It's because they suck. The Microtechs, the Guardian Tacticals, right? The Heretic OTFs, some of your Hogue and Benchmade OTFs are all right. But you know, those are the kind of the ones that I really hold up high on. I put them on a pedestal and say, yeah, they're really expensive, but yeah, they're really good. This is the first time I've really been truly impressed by a non-USA OTF. And if you're wondering, yeah, Maxace makes knives in China. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons with some more common knives. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? So there you go. Let's put it up against the Spyderco Para 3. And finally, the Benchmade Bug Out. So there you go. Action. How's the action on this guy? Wow. That is very nice. Very snappy action. I'm finally, with one of these form, a lot of people swear by, you know, some other stuff from No Limit, this or that. I think I had a No Limit on the channel one time. They always feel a little sluggish. They never really feel like, right? They never quite feel as snappy as some of these Microtechs or the Guardian Tacticals. These things, this really does feel every bit as high quality as Microtech. And also, the blade play is extremely, extremely minimal. It is not as rock solid as a Hawk Deadlock. These are the only OTFs, and I have handled so many, right? So many. This is the only OTF that I have ever handled where there is truly zero blade play. No, your Benchmade Infidel is not as solid as the Hawk Deadlock. No. These things are really, really close, though. It's just as solid. Yeah, it's absolutely as solid as my Scarab 2, as my Combat Troodon, as my Dirac Delta, and as this guy's got a little more play, the Recon 40, right? This thing is real solid, and it's real snappy, very powerful. The power feels about the same. Really impressive, absolutely. So let's go ahead and weigh it real quick. What are we looking at for materials? This is pretty impressive. So these gray parts here are 7075 aluminum, which is a tougher aluminum than your 6060, is it 6061 T6, which is fine. The 6061 always, that's Microtech's, aluminum of choice. Sometimes they use 7075. 7075 is going to be a little bit tougher, apparently a little bit more susceptible to corrosion, but still incredibly stainless, right? So I don't think we have to worry there. And then these inlays here are titanium. These are big chunks of very, very detailed titanium. This is impressive. I have never seen this on an OTF before. This is wild. Very cool. And then the blade is M390. You will find some No Limit variants of this in S90V, right? Again, it's essentially the same thing. It's just Maxace has different variations of this knife, and the different companies apparently buy it and put their name on it. Apparently that's not as big of a deal over there as it is over here, right? Because Maxace is apparently willingly letting that happen. So it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, right? It's like if, imagine if Rick Hinderer was like, yeah, oh, you want to buy a bunch of XM18s and put your logo on it? Sure, go ahead. Like Spyderco is like, yeah, we want to buy a bunch of those and put our logo on it. Yeah, no problem. That wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. I don't know the rules. I don't know exactly how that works, right? That's just the answer that I got from Maxace. So, anyways, weight on this guy. I want to say that this is going to come in at something like 4.75 ounces. So let's take a look here. Nope, 4.59 ounces. Ratios are not perfect, but you know what? It's pretty good for as big of a double action OTF as this is. Anyways, let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness on this guy. You will also find this knife in variants with a double edge, but this is a single edge. So There you go, adding to the confusion there. We have a blade stock thickness of about 120 thousandths, which I think is fairly typical for this size of OTF. I think that's Microtech is about the same, like the Combat Troodon is going to be about 120 thousandths or so. So there you go. Hardware check. Let's get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Fortunately for us, all of these screws appear to be T8. Yes, so we can actually get into these. Dual action OTFs are really not super duper complicated. I've taken these apart. They're much less intimidating than I ever would have guessed to take apart, put back together, right? Usually it's just one spring attached to the little, I don't know exactly the right terminology, but you've got one spring and then pushing up creates tension on the spring, and then one side gets thrown and then it locks into place, and then it essentially works the opposite way, you know, back down. My point is that you can take this apart and that's great, and getting in there and doing that and cleaning it won't be that big of a deal. It's not going to be as easy as taking apart a simple frame lock, but it is doable, and I appreciate that they did not do the proprietary hardware thing like Microtech and lock us out of the knife, so that's pretty cool. Is that everything? Yeah, I think so. Wow, this thing is impressive. And again, I'm going to zoom way up on this so that you guys can see the incredible level of detail that we are working with on this thing. The inlay work on this knife is next level. The implication here of what Maxace is capable of doing, this is insane. Exactly this, and look at these little micro, like the diagonal lines here. That is just gorgeous. The pocket clip, the detail on it. If this knife were this is a production knife, right? Let's say Microtech made something like this, right? In the United States. Let me show you what a $650 Microtech looks like. One of these is a lot more complicated, but you know, this guy's 100% made in the United States. So their Dirac Delta, you're looking at about 380 bucks. Combat Troodon, the base versions of these, you're looking at 485 to 500 bucks. The Scarab 2s, you're looking at 525 bucks. Shadow editions, something like this, 600. Anyways, if Microtech decided to just make this exactly, this right here, you're probably looking at $700 to $800. This knife, exactly, if you were to Google it and go find it right now, it's $238. Now, yeah, it's going to be a lot less expensive because it's made in China, right? That's how things are. I'll say this, just looking and seeing what they're able to do here, we have this sort of gunmetal aluminum, and then we have this green anodized titanium with very subtle hints of bronze. Oh man, that's sick. That's cool, right? These are real colorful, and that's great. I would love, just seeing what they're able to do with the milling, I would love to see them go, you know, the opposite direction. Much less, you know, future robot sort of Star Wars look. It would be so cool to have an area in here that was sort of outlined like a milling line all the way around, and then you inlay a piece of titanium and you texture it, right? Like a diamond texture. If you can do this, right, if they can lay titanium in like this, oh my gosh, they're capable of some amazing stuff. And I would like to see less busyness. You know, some people like kind of the future fantasy theme. I would like to see them do a version of this with much more sort of understated and classy and kind of a little more James Bond. You know, that would be really, really cool. But I like this, and it's really amazing what they're capable of here. This is just really impressive. The switch is actually really, really comfortable. It's very, very similar to what Microtech's doing. But then again, it's like, what are your options? You know, maybe let's not do an X. Like, that's really, like, we finally have a breakaway from, you know, like every freaking Chinese-made OTF is just copying Microtech, right? And even those pretend American companies. Come on. Those aren't come on. No. So my point is, we finally have a breakaway from the endless sea of garbage Microtech clones, right? We finally have a unique thing. Let's just not do this. Like, that's too close, right? I mean, I understand we don't have a lot of options here, but it's just way too close. Yeah, function's great. It's nowhere near as sharp as on a Microtech. Little teeny tiny bit of play in the closed position. In the open position, a little bit less play, right? There's my Microtech closed. Open, no play on this. No, there's still a little bit. This guy, direct delta, minimal play in the closed position. Absolutely no play in the open position. Guardian Tactical, a little bit of left and right. A little bit of left and right. Open. And let's do like the Scarab. Extremely minimal. Extremely, almost non-existent in the closed position. For some reason, more play in the open position. So, pretty similar in that department, right? Nice and smooth, though. Still not quite as smooth as the Guardian Tactical, but dare I say, impressively, like to the point where it's actually a bit smoother than my Microtechs, right? And this is coming from somebody who loves to buy American knives and has spent a lot of money on really expensive high-end OTFs, right? I still love those, and I'll continue to do it. It's not like because this exists, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to buy it. No, just saying this is really impressive, right? Like I said, the deployment is fantastic. The blade does not rub anywhere coming in or out, which is pretty impressive, extremely impressive, right? It's not, the blade's not touching anything. I mean, it gets really, really close, but it's not touching. Love the fuller there. That looks great. We have a little bit of a tanto going on here. Nice satin finish. I'm kind of sick of the satin finishes, though. You know, I've said that many times. Would like to see more of a tumbled finish, but this looks good, right? Final cutting bevel looks great. The knife is absolutely sharpened well. It's a little bit thick, but then again, you know, just the nature of OTFs, it's just going to be the case. This long fuller is definitely going to attract, you know, stuff. It's stuff that you cut is going to get stuck in there. So it's one of those things where you're going to need to clean it out. I wouldn't continue to, you know, retract and deploy it with stuff on that fuller. It looks good, but it might cause problems, you know, down the road. As is the case with all OTFs, right? You know, the whole like, oh, if you hold it up to a surface, it goes right through it. No, that's a myth. That's not what happens. There are no, you know, here's the, you know, probably the most powerful double action OTF in the world, the Scarab. Yeah, guess what? Same thing, right? They just need to be reset, and you're good to go. That's it. Unfortunately, every time I do that, it ruins the fantasy for a lot of people. But that's just, you know, it's just one of those things you see in the movies, and it's not the reality, right? Still powerful enough to deploy, which is really all that needs to happen. It just needs to be able to deploy and lock out. Once it's locked out, it's completely and totally solid, very reliable. These are actually very durable. If you've ever questioned the durability of a lock on the OTF, these lock out the same way Microtech knives do, Guardian Tactical, etc. They're actually super, super strong. Don't worry about that at all. There's a glass breaker, which doesn't need to be there. It'd be better to just have like a screw or something like that. This appears to be a right hand only. Well, no, I'm sorry, I say that, but truthfully, it can just be switched. It can just be flipped over. So left-handed people, you can absolutely, well, no, wait a second. Let me think about this. You flip it over and the button's going to be down here. It would be if the button was on the face, like the direct delta. This guy is truly, you know, you want to carry it right-handed, you're going to be like this. Left-handed, you're going to be like this, right? But because the button's on the spine, this is really just a right-handed OTF, unless somehow you're strong enough to deploy it like this, but that's just going to be the case. Ergonomically, wow, it is comfortable. I mean, as far as OTFs go, because this button is not super sharp and this pocket clip is nice and flat. It's very long. I don't think it needed to be that long, but it does look good. It goes with the theme of the knife, and it's really, honestly, it's a really cool pocket clip. This is going to be super deep. It's just going to have that little point sticking up, easy in and out of the pants, right? I started to talk about something else, and I remembered that I was I was going to talk about the pocket clip. Oh, ergonomics. Yeah, very, very comfortable. It's not like the bills that you get on Microtech knives. This is 3D milled and rounded, and oh man, it's just very, very, very comfortable, right? Get up here and you start squeezing, you're going to feel that button, but as far as OTFs go, that's one of the most comfortable ones I've ever felt. Yeah, this is just insanely impressive. Maxace can make an OTF, and they can make an original design. This is about as original as I have seen in the foreign OTF market, which is not, you know, a huge market. Like this type of stuff doesn't exist. The stuff that exists is all just junky pretend Microtechs and stuff that is, you know, trying desperately to pretend it's not a direct ripoff of Microtech. We finally have something that is not that, right? So, 238 bucks. Yeah, if you can actually get your hands on this or the no limit variant, because it's apparently the same thing with a slightly different position on the pocket clip and some different blade shapes and stuff like that. Yeah, you're gonna like this. This is real impressive, and the value is off the charts, right? If you have reservations against foreign-made knives, that's fine, right? Do what you're gonna do. But you want my opinion as somebody who loves and will continue to buy. I will absolutely continue to buy American-made, you know, Microtech OTFs because they're incredible. But this is the only thing I've ever felt. This is the only thing I've ever handled that really is standing up to the same, you know, the same quality, right? This is the first time where I've handled something like this and gone, God, that is really just as good as my Microtechs, right? I still have massive pride, you know, buying something that is made. Like the one thing that, the reason I'm still going to continue to enjoy my Microtechs over stuff like this, right? The reason that I'm, you know, if somebody were to ask me like, well, which would you rather buy then? Hands down, the Microtech. Why? Because it's made in the USA. That's one of those things where I'm just going to support that, right? Even if it's 2 or 3 times the cost. You can call me stupid if you want. It's not going to have any effect on me. But this is impressive, like just objectively impressive, right? It's really good. I'm shocked that they're able to do this. Amazing. They need to make a smaller one, definitely. I'm kind of not really sure how they're importing this, but yeah, they need to make a smaller one, and we need some different variants, and maybe tone it down a bit on the, like everything that I see is very, for some reason, a lot of times when we see foreign-made knives that come out of China, we see a lot of bright colors and robot stuff. Like that is just freaking everywhere. Let's tone it down. Tone it down on that just a little bit. You know, I think the James brand, the Barnes, is a perfect example of how when you have more of a minimalistic approach with some fine details, it can really, you know, like the price tag they're justifying on that thing is insane, and people still buy them. They sell out, right? Let's tone down the robot stuff, all of this crazy, you know, side of a spaceship, and do something a little more James Bond, and you'll knock it out of the park. But we need one that's about, you know, 2/3 or 3/4 the size. I'd like to see more blade shapes, more finishes, but this is a real winner. Really nice. This is definitely going to go on my most recommended knives playlist. I urge you to check that out. Thanks again to Maxace for sending this in for me to take a look at. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.